Dr. Eli Marsden stepped off the shuttle with a mix of awe and slight trepidation. Zalara Prime's spaceport buzzed with a cacophony of alien dialects, the clanking of machinery, and the soft hum of hovering vehicles. The air was thick with the aroma of exotic spices and ionized engine exhaust, a signature blend for any major galactic hub. Eli adjusted his glasses, his gaze sweeping over the diverse crowd. His mission was straightforward: study the unique ecosystem of Zalara Prime. Yet, as he looked around, he realized the real complexity lay in navigating through this bustling terminal. As he made his way through the crowd, his thoughts were interrupted by a sudden collision. "Oh, I'm terribly sorry," Eli exclaimed as he stumbled into a tall, slender figure draped in flowing robes. The figure, a Zalarian woman with luminescent skin that shimmered like the surface of a starlit pond, righted herself and flashed him a bright smile. "No harm done, human. You must be new here. Need help finding your way?" Eli, still regaining his composure, nodded. "Yes, actually, I'm Dr. Eli Marsden. I'm here to conduct some ecological research, but seem a bit lost." "I'm Mira," she introduced herself, her voice melodious, reflecting her people's reputed charm. "I work with the Planetary Conservation Team." "What a coincidence. Perhaps we can assist each other. Would you mind guiding me to the main information desk?" Eli asked, grateful for the friendly offer. "Not at all," Mira replied, leading the way through the bustling terminal. "Tell me, Dr. Marsden, what brings a human to Zalara Prime? It's rare to see your kind this far out in the sectors." Eli chuckled, adjusting the strap of his bag. "Well, Mira, Zalara's ecosystems are said to be unlike any other. I specialize in xenobotany, plants that thrive in non-Earth-like conditions. Your flora are particularly intriguing." Mira nodded enthusiastically. "You'll find our forests quite accommodating then. The bioluminescent canopies are not just beautiful, they're a complex habitat, exactly the reason I'm here," Eli replied, his enthusiasm growing. "I've read about your phosphorescent fungi and the symbiotic relationships here. I hope to study those interactions up close." As they walked, the throng thinned slightly, allowing Eli to take in the sights and sounds more comfortably. The architecture was a blend of natural materials and advanced tech, mirroring the Zalarians' respect for nature and their technological prowess. "So, how do you find our little spaceport?" Mira asked, a playful tone in her voice. Eli laughed. "It's certainly lively. Reminds me of the cultural hubs back home, but with a more universal appeal." Myra's laughter mingled with his, a sound as clear as the ringing chimes of Zalara's crystal forests. "You'll find the whole planet to be lively, as you put it. And since you're studying our plant life, you're in for quite an adventure." They reached the information desk, where a robotic attendant greeted them. Mira spoke briefly to the attendant, then turned to Eli with a smile. "There, all set. You have clearance to travel to the outer regions. I've also taken the liberty of assigning myself as your guide, if you don't mind the company." Eli's eyes lit up. "I'd appreciate the guidance. And the company. Great. Let's start your adventure with a good meal." "You must try some local cuisine," Mira suggested, her eyes twinkling with mischief. As they made their way to a nearby eatery, Eli felt his initial apprehension about this foreign planet begin to wane. Zalara Prime might be unfamiliar and daunting, but with Mira by his side, he was ready to dive into its mysteries. Eli and Mira stepped into one of Zalara Prime's most popular eateries, a quaint place nestled beneath the glowing tendrils of a massive lush tree, which illuminated the surrounding area with a soothing azure light. The ambience was a soothing blend of natural beauty and soft, pulsing alien rhythms that set a tranquil mood. Mira gestured towards a secluded booth. "This spot offers some privacy and a great view of the gardens outside," she said as they sat down. Eli nodded, looking around with an evident fascination. "It's beautiful," he admitted. "Very different from the sterile labs and conference rooms I'm used to." Mira chuckled, her eyes sparkling. "Zalarians love to integrate nature into everything. Wait until you try the food. It's as vibrant as our surroundings." A server approached, a tall Zalarian male with a welcoming smile. "Welcome to the lush glow. I'm Thar, and I'll be taking care of you today. May I start you off with some drinks? What do you recommend? Eli asked, eager to dive into the local culture. Dar's smile broadened. If you're up for something unique, I'd suggest the glowing nectar. It's a mix of fermented fruits from the eastern forests and a touch of nectar from the lush tree flowers. It's a bit fizzy and very refreshing. Sounds perfect, Eli responded enthusiastically. And for you, Mira? Dar asked. The same, please, she replied with a nod. As they went to place their order, Mira turned to Eli. So, Dr. Marsden, what's your plan for studying our ecosystems? Any particular areas you're focused on? Eli leaned back, thinking it over. I'm particularly interested in the symbiotic relationships, as I mentioned earlier. How diverse species coexist and enhance each other's survival. It mirrors the philosophy I've read about Zolarian society. You've done your homework, Mira observed, impressed. The symbiosis here isn't just biological, it's cultural. We believe all life, from the smallest fungi to the largest sky beasts, is interconnected. Their drinks arrived, casting a soft glow on the table. Eli took a cautious sip and smiled in surprise. That's incredible. It's like nothing I've tasted before. Glad you like it, Mira exclaimed. It's a favorite among offworlders. Now, for food, do you trust me to order for us? Completely, Eli affirmed, his trust in her judgment already cemented. Mira ordered a selection of dishes, spiced tubers, grilled sky bee strips, and a tangy, leafy salad. As they waited, Eli continued their earlier discussion. I was hoping to start my fieldwork tomorrow. Would you be available to guide me? Absolutely, Mira replied. I can take you to the Great Canopy first. It's a prime example of ecological and biological symbiosis. That sounds like an excellent starting point. Eli was already envisioning the lush landscapes and exotic plants he'd read about. The food arrived, and Eli marveled at the colors and smells. Each dish was a work of art. As they ate, Mira described the ingredients and their ecological roles, while Eli listened intently, his mind already weaving the details into his research. Zolara sounds like a paradise for a xenobotanist, Eli noted between bites. It's a paradise for many, not just scientists, Mira responded warmly. And it's our duty to keep it that way. Conservation isn't just about preserving. It's about understanding and improving our interactions with nature. Eli nodded thoughtfully. In a way, that's what I hope my research can contribute to. A deeper understanding that can help foster better conservation methods, not just here but across inhabited worlds. Mira smiled, pleased. Then we have a common goal, Dr. Marsden. Together, I think we can achieve something meaningful. Their meal continued with more lighthearted conversation, the two of them exchanging stories of their experiences, Eli from his travels and Mira from her deep-rooted connection to her home planet. By the time they finished, Eli felt more at home on Zolara Prime than he could have imagined, and Mira was equally delighted to have found such an earnest and respectful partner in her conservation efforts. The morning after their dinner, Mira arrived at Eli's lodging with a plan for the day. The air was crisp, and the rising sun tinted the sky with hues of orange and purple, reflecting beautifully off the architecture of Zolara Prime. Good morning, Eli. I hope you're ready for an immersive day, Mira greeted him cheerfully. Eli stepped out, a backpack slung over his shoulder, equipped with all his field gear. Absolutely. I've been looking forward to this since I landed. What's first on the agenda? We'll start with a visit to my community's cultural center. You'll get a taste of our history and arts. Understanding our culture will give you deeper insights into how we interact with our ecosystem, Mira explained as they boarded a transport pod. The pod whisked them smoothly through the bustling city, and soon they were descending steps into a building carved directly into the base of a massive tree, its interior walls alive with vibrant murals depicting Zolarian history. As they walked through the entrance, they were greeted by a tall Zolarian man dressed in traditional attire. His warm smile was welcoming. Mira, and this must be Dr. Marsden. I'm Jor-El, the curator here. It's a pleasure to meet you. Eli extended his hand, which Jor-El clasped in a firm handshake. The pleasure is mine, Jor-El. Thank you for having me. I'm eager to learn about your culture. Let's start with our art gallery. Our artists use natural pigments derived from local flora and fauna. It's a practice that dates back centuries and is central to our cultural identity. Jor-El led them into a brightly lit hall filled with stunning artworks. Each piece was a riot of colors, each more vivid than the last. Eli was particularly drawn to a large mural that seemed to depict a festival. "Could you tell me more about this one?" he asked, pointing towards the mural. Jor-El was delighted to elaborate. "Ah, that's the Festival of Renewal. It celebrates the symbiotic relationships within our ecosystem. Each figure represents a species from Zalara, and their interconnected forms symbolize ecological and societal unity." As they moved through the gallery, Mira and Jor-El explained the significance of various cultural artifacts and practices, highlighting their community's commitment to maintaining a balance with nature. Eli listened intently, taking notes and asking thoughtful questions. After the tour, they stepped into a workshop where an elderly Zalarian was teaching young children the art of dye making using natural ingredients. "Would you like to try your hand at this, Eli?" Mira asked, a playful challenge in her tone. Eli grinned, rolling up his sleeves. "Why not? It seems like a fascinating process." The children giggled as Eli, guided by the elderly artisan, mixed and mashed various plants to extract their colors. His first attempt was a bit clumsy, but soon he got the hang of it, his mixture turning a brilliant shade of green. "You're a natural, Dr. Marsden," Jor-El joked, watching him work. Eli laughed, wiping his hands on a cloth. "I might stick to plants, but it's good to know I have something to fall back on." With the workshop coming to an end, Jor-El invited them to a small auditorium where a group of Zalarians performed traditional music and dance. The music, rich with the sounds of nature, imitations of bird calls and rustling leaves, was mesmerizing. As the day wrapped up, Eli felt a profound appreciation for the Zalarian way of life. "Thank you, Mira and Jor-El, for such an enlightening day. I feel like I understand not just your environment, but also the heart of your people now." Mira smiled warmly. "And we're just getting started, Eli. There's much more to Zalara than meets the eye." They said their goodbyes to Jor-El and headed back to the city center, discussing the day's experiences. The cultural immersion had not only deepened Eli's understanding of the planet's ecological practices, but also enriched his connection with Mira, forging a partnership based on mutual respect and shared curiosity. The next morning, Eli sat at a small table in a cafe near his lodgings, a stack of digital pads and notes scattered before him. He was deep in thought, sketching out the symbiotic relationships he'd learned about the previous day, when he felt a presence beside him. Looking up, he saw a familiar face. "Mira, good morning. I didn't expect to see you so early." Mira, holding a steaming cup of local brew, smiled. "I thought you might need some fuel for your studies. Mind if I join you? Please, have a seat." Eli gestured to the chair across from him. As Mira sat, Eli couldn't help but feel a twinge of nervousness. Today was the day he planned to share his feelings. Mira noticed his hesitance. "You look troubled, Eli. What's on your mind?" Taking a deep breath, Eli set aside his pads. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," he started, pausing to gather his thoughts. "About us. Our work together. How much I've enjoyed your company." Mira listened intently, her expression unreadable. Eli continued, "I find myself looking forward to our time together each day, and not just for the research." He met her gaze, trying to convey his sincerity. "I feel a connection with you, Mira, more than just professional or even friendly. I'm not sure if it's the same for you, but I needed to be honest about my feelings." Mira was silent for a moment, her eyes softening. "Eli, I'm glad you shared that with me. I enjoy our time together too, and I feel a connection as well. I wasn't sure if it was appropriate to mention it, given our circumstances." Eli's heart felt lighter, a rush of relief washing over him. "So, what do we do with these feelings?" he asked, a cautious hope coloring his tone. Mira reached across the table, her hand lightly touching his. "We explore them, carefully. We're from different worlds, Eli, but that doesn't mean we can't see where this might lead." Eli nodded, a smile breaking across his face. "I'd like that." With their feelings now in the open, they spent the rest of the morning discussing potential implications for their work and personal lives, setting boundaries and expressing hopes for what their newfound closeness could bring. As lunch approached, Eli suggested. Why don't we take a break from the city today? Perhaps a walk in the eastern forest? It's supposed to be beautiful, and we could use some fresh air to clear our heads. That sounds perfect, Mira agreed. Let me just grab some things from my place, and I'll meet you here. Once alone, Eli felt a burst of creative energy. He pulled his pads towards him and began to jot down ideas for integrating their personal discoveries into their research, seeing new angles and opportunities everywhere. When Mira returned, they set off for the forest. The eastern forest was a riot of colors, with towering trees and sprawling vines that formed a dense canopy overhead. The air was fresh and filled with the sounds of unseen creatures. As they walked, they talked about everything from their childhoods to their aspirations, the conversation flowing easily now that their feelings were out in the open. Mira stopped at a particularly large tree, its bark glowing faintly. See this? It's a heartwood tree. They say it grows stronger as it ages, and its roots are interconnected with every plant within a half-mile radius. Eli examined the tree, impressed. It's like it's the center of a vast network, supporting and supported by the life around it. Much like us, I think, Mira mused. Individually strong, but potentially so much more together. Eli looked at her, his expression thoughtful. I like that analogy. It's hopeful. The day ended with a quiet dinner back in the city, where they planned their next steps, both for their research and their relationship. As they parted for the night, Eli felt a contentment he hadn't known in years, hopeful for the future and what it might bring for them both. As the Zolarian sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the bustling city, Eli and Mira prepared for an evening that promised more than just research. They decided to visit one of Zolara Prime's remote overlooks, known for its unobstructed views of the cosmos and bioluminescent wildlife, a place where they could talk freely about their future. Eli arrived at the designated meeting spot with a portable telescope and a couple of thermal blankets. Mira joined him shortly, bringing a small cooler filled with local delicacies and a bottle of glowing nectar. Did you manage to get everything? Mira asked as she approached, her voice tinged with excitement. Yes, all set for our night under the stars, Eli replied, showing her the telescope. I thought we might do some stargazing alongside our usual discussions. That sounds wonderful, Mira smiled warmly, taking one of the blankets from him. It's a perfect night for it. They hiked up a gentle slope leading to the overlook. The path was lined with glowing plants, their soft light guiding them in the encroaching darkness. Once at the top, the view was breathtaking. The sky, free from the light pollution of the city, offered a tapestry of stars stretching endlessly. Mira spread out a blanket and they both sat down, arranging the food between them. Eli set up the telescope, aiming it at a particularly bright cluster of stars. As a xenobiologist, you spend so much time looking down at alien flora. How about looking up tonight? Eli said with a grin as he adjusted the telescope's focus. Mira laughed, accepting the offer to peer through the telescope. Oh, wow, that's incredible, she exclaimed, marveling at the clarity of the starlit sky. Eli watched her with a soft expression, then joined her to look at the celestial display. That cluster is known as the Shepherd's Lantern back home. It's said to guide the lost. The stories we attach to the stars are not so different from yours, it seems, Mira replied, her voice thoughtful. We have a similar cluster we call the Traveler's Beacon. It's a symbol of safe journeys and new discoveries. The conversation gently shifted from stars to more personal topics. They shared stories of their childhoods, Eli from a bustling Earth city, Mira from a tranquil Zolarian village. Despite the differences, there was a mutual understanding of having been shaped by their environments, both rich in tradition and community. As the night deepened, their talk turned to the possibilities of their future together. What do you think about continuing our collaboration? Maybe even beyond this project? Eli asked, his tone hopeful yet cautious. Mira turned to face him, her expression sincere. I've been thinking about that too. There's so much we can learn from each other, not just scientifically. I'd like that very much. They continued to talk, outlining potential joint research projects that could combine their expertise and interests, allowing them to spend more time together. The conversation flowed naturally, filled with excitement and plans, as they nibbled on the local snacks and sipped the sparkling nectar. Later, as they lay back to watch the sky, Myra's hand found Eli's, their fingers intertwining. "Eli, look." She pointed towards the sky where a shooting star streaked past. "Make a wish," Eli suggested, squeezing her hand gently. "I don't need to wish for anything more tonight," Myra whispered, her voice filled with contentment. They spent the rest of the evening under the blanket of stars, talking and dreaming about the future, both feeling a profound connection not only to each other but to the universe itself. As they packed up to leave, the first light of dawn was beginning to edge the horizon, symbolizing new beginnings and the dawn of a shared journey. Eli and Myra decided to spend the day at Zalara Prime's renowned coastal region, famous for its expansive beaches lined with crystalline sands and the gentle surf of bioluminescent waves. The idea was to gather samples of coastal flora, but both knew it was also a chance to relax and deepen their newfound bond. After a short journey via a hovercraft, they arrived at the coast as the Zalarian sun cast a golden glow over the water, making the waves sparkle with vibrant colors. "Isn't it beautiful?" Myra exclaimed, her eyes reflecting the shimmering light. "It's incredible," Eli agreed, setting down their equipment on the sand. "The way the light plays off the water, it's like nothing I've ever seen on Earth." As they set up their research station, Eli noticed how seamlessly they worked together, anticipating each other's needs and moving in a comfortable rhythm. Once they were ready, they began collecting various samples of algae and small aquatic plants. "Look at this one, Eli," Myra called out, holding up a frond that glowed with a pulsating blue light. "It's used by my people for its medicinal properties. The glow indicates its potency." Eli took it from her, examining it closely. "That's fascinating. It's similar to bioluminescent organisms we have on Earth, but none are used for medicine. Mostly, they're just studied for their chemical properties." Myra smiled, pleased with his interest. "There's so much we can learn from each other, not just about science, but about how we use what we discover." Their morning continued with laughter and shared stories as they moved along the shoreline. Eventually, they found a quiet spot to take a break and have lunch. Myra spread out a blanket and they sat down, their meal consisting of local fruits and chilled drinks. As they ate, their conversation drifted to less scientific topics. Eli found himself talking about his family back on Earth, his dreams of exploring the stars, and how this mission had changed him more than he'd anticipated. "It's strange," he said thoughtfully. "I came here for plants, and I'm leaving with so much more. I've never felt this connected to someone so quickly, especially not someone from a different world." Myra listened, her expression soft. "I feel the same, Eli. It's like finding a part of yourself you didn't know was missing. I never expected this, but I'm grateful for it." After lunch, they decided to go for a swim. The water was warm and inviting, its surface twinkling under the sun. Eli watched as Myra dove in, her form perfect against the liquid light. He followed, and they spent the next hour splashing around, teaching each other to swim the way their people did. Later, drying off in the sun, Myra turned to Eli. "Do you think there's a future for us, despite our differences? Our worlds are so far apart." Eli reached for her hand, his touch gentle. "I believe there is. It won't be without challenges, but what we have is rare. It's worth fighting for." Myra nodded, squeezing his hand. "I'm willing to try if you are." They spent the rest of the day discussing practicalities, how they could continue their research together, and what that might mean for their personal lives. By the time they packed up to leave, they had a tentative plan in place to apply for joint grants and propose collaborative projects that would allow them to travel between Earth and Zalara Prime. The ride back was quiet, each lost in thoughts of the future, but their joined hands spoke volumes about their determination to make it work. As the hovercraft glided over the glowing waves, the setting sun cast a hopeful glow over their journey, symbolizing the bright possibilities that lay ahead. After a day spent along the vibrant coastlines of Zalara Prime, Eli and Myra returned to Eli's quarters, their spirits high and their bond deeper than ever. The evening was warm, with a gentle breeze that carried the exotic fragrances of the alien planet into the living space. Eli poured 2 glasses of a delicate, sparkling beverage he had saved for a special occasion. "To us," he toasted, handing Myra a glass. "To us," she echoed, clinking her glass gently against his. They both took a sip, savoring the flavor that seemed to perfectly capture the essence of their time together. Mira set her glass down and turned to face Eli, her expression serious yet tender. Eli, there's something I've been wanting to talk about. With all this talk about future projects and travels, I realize how much I've come to care for you. Not just as a partner in research, but as something more. Eli looked into her eyes, his heart quickening at her words. He set his own glass down and took her hands in his. Mira, I feel the same. I've been trying to find the right time to tell you. These past days have been some of the happiest of my life. Smiling warmly, Mira stepped closer, reducing the space between them. I'm glad to hear that because I've never felt this way about anyone before. Their conversation paused as they both acknowledged the gravity of their feelings. It was Eli who broke the silence, his voice low and filled with emotion. Mira, I don't want this night to end. Neither do I, she whispered back. Slowly, naturally, they moved closer until their lips met in a gentle, exploratory kiss. The kiss deepened, fueled by the emotions they had shared and the weeks of growing closeness. Eli's hands moved to Myra's back, pulling her closer, while Myra's fingers threaded through his hair. As their kisses grew more passionate, Eli led Mira to the bedroom without breaking their embrace. They continued to explore each other, their actions speaking the words their lips no longer could. Clothes were shed not with haste, but with a reverence for the moment they were sharing. Once they were lying together, the room filled with the soft sounds of their unity. The connection deepened with every touch, every kiss, every whispered affirmation of their feelings. Mira, caught in the height of their shared passion, whispered breathlessly, "Human, you are doing it so fast. Please don't stop," her voice a mixture of awe and pleasure. Eli responded not just with his body but with his heart, ensuring every action showed his respect and love for her. They moved together in a rhythm that felt as ancient as the stars above yet as new as their feelings for each other. Afterward, they lay in each other's arms, the outside world forgotten. The night stretched on, filled with shared whispers and laughter, plans and dreams spoken in the quiet confidence of newfound love. As dawn approached, they finally drifted off to sleep, wrapped in each other's embrace, secure in the knowledge that what they had was something profound and transformative. The night had not only marked the union of their bodies but the fusion of their souls, a bond that they both knew would guide them through whatever challenges lay ahead. As the first light of dawn crept through the blinds, casting a gentle glow across the room, Eli and Mira slowly awakened, still wrapped in each other's arms. The serene silence of the morning was a stark contrast to the fervor of the previous night. Eli looked at Mira, her face peaceful in sleep, and felt a profound sense of connection. Mira stirred, her eyes fluttering open to meet his. "Good morning," she whispered, her voice soft with contentment. "Good morning," Eli replied, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "How are you feeling?" "Wonderful," Mira smiled, stretching slightly, and a bit amazed. "I never imagined we'd come to this when I first met you at the spaceport." Eli chuckled, his heart light. "Neither did I. But I'm glad we did." They rose and shared a quiet breakfast in Eli's quarters, the conversation flowing easily between them. As they ate, the topic inevitably turned to their future. "Mira, I've been thinking," Eli started, his tone serious, "about how we can make this work. With my research grant coming to an end soon, and your work here." Mira nodded, understanding the gravity of his words. "I've been thinking too. There's a lot to consider. Our careers, our homes on different worlds. But I want to find a way, Eli. I want this to work." Eli reached across the table, taking her hand. "What if we applied for a joint grant? We could propose a project that spans both our fields, something that benefits both Earth and Zalara Prime. It would give us a reason to stay together, to work side by side." Myra's eyes lit up with excitement. "That's a brilliant idea. We could study the effects of Earth's botanical techniques here, and perhaps introduce some Zalarian concepts to your planet. It would be groundbreaking." "Exactly," Eli agreed. "And while we work on that, we can plan for the long term. Figure out where we want to be, how we can merge our lives more permanently." The logistics seemed daunting, but the possibility of continuing their partnership, both professional and personal, filled them both with hope. After breakfast, they spent the day drafting a proposal for their joint project. They outlined how their combined expertise could lead to significant advancements in xenobiology and conservation, emphasizing the mutual benefits for both their worlds. By late afternoon, they had a solid draft ready. Excited and a little nervous, they sent it off to their respective advisory boards for consideration. "We've done all we can for now," Mira said, leaning back in her chair. "Let's hope our boards see the potential." Eli pulled her into a hug, his spirits high. "They will. How could they not see what we see?" The day slowly faded into evening, and they decided to return to the overlook where they had watched the stars the night before. Sitting together, watching the sunset, they felt the enormity of the universe around them, yet the simplicity of their desires, to be together, to build a life. As the stars began to appear, Eli turned to Mira, his expression earnest. "No matter what happens with the proposal, we'll find a way, Mira. We've crossed galaxies to find each other. We won't let them separate us." Mira nodded, her hand gripping his. "I believe that. With you, Eli. I believe we can do anything." The final twilight of the day gave way to a brilliant night sky, and under the vast cosmos, they made plans and dreamed dreams. Their shared journey was just beginning, but they were ready to face whatever challenges and joys lay ahead, together.